you don't know just how great at coaching you could be. There are so many elements, thousands of them, that go into the journey you go on with a client, and any one of them can be improved and can increase the quality and the value of your service immediately. Today I'm going to be exploring one part of that you can use immediately to make things better. I'm David Saville. I mentor coaches to discover their deep USP, which is what is truly unique about them that can be imprinted throughout their coaching and support them in building much higher quality services. That means whatever fee they set, they're tiny compared to the lasting impact that their service creates. Welcome to the Superhuman Life Coach Live. So you don't know just how great at coaching you could be. This was brought to my attention back in the end of 2013. I'd done a lot of training and I'd already worked with quite a few people and I had done some good work. I'd made some lasting changes. I had some very happy previous clients. So when I embarked on a journey with a coach to figure out how to get clients and how to make it into a business, I thought that's all I needed to do. And it was I thought, this is where my service is. This is where my understanding of business is. I need to just raise that up to meet it. That's what I thought. I was disillusioned of that very quickly. It was only by being coached deeply did it blow my mind and wake me up to the fact that I did not know anywhere near what I needed to be the kind of coach that I expected to be. I decided I wanted to be world class at this, and I thought I was a lot closer than I actually was. It was only by being coached by this person and by a couple of people actually, did I actually get an experience of what real coaching was. So it was a real shock to my system, but it was a good shock because it enabled me to get to work, enabled me to seek not to just be coached by him and by others, but to extract out what they did behind the scenes to become amazing at coaching. So since then I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, deeply testing things out and exploring and understanding. And through my work, we're working with coaches, helping them to improve their services, I've had to extract out the things that have worked and got them to test it. And only through their testing do I figure out what actually works. So through this whole process, I see so many things. One of the things I do with my clients actually is they send me their videos of them coaching volunteer clients, and I pick a segment of 10 minutes. And with it, any point in it, or it doesn't matter where it is, just 10 minutes. And I look at that 10 minutes and I make a lot of notes about that 10 minutes. There's always many things, probably 30 to 50 different things that could be improved in any 10 minutes. Now, of course, I don't give them that many, there's no need. And this is true for all of us. You know, there's always so much more that we could do. But it's my job to show them the most important and to help them upgrade immediately. What tends to happen is when I do share this with them, they have a relief because it's one of those things that's obvious, but they weren't able to see it. Because when you're in it, as you should know as a coach, you cannot necessarily see it. So through all this work, I suppose it's almost like an obsession really on how coaching can be made better, how the elements of transformation work, and what we can do to tweak it to make it of the highest quality and the highest impact. And so what I'm going to explore here are just during a single session. So we're going to imagine it was the first client session that you've had. So the very first call you have with a client, either whether you use the method of no-fee coaching, where you test someone out first before offering them to work with you, or the first session in a series of coaching, or even just a one-off session. So we're just going to work with that as if you've just coached this client for the very first time. So here are some of the elements that you need to focus on. Now, just to be clear, there are far more elements in a coaching session than I'm covering here. Far more, if we could break it down into many. But I think these are some of the most important. Thank you for the likes. So here we go. From the start of the call, setup. Setup's important, and that is environmental setup. Is this person in an environment that's conducive to coaching? How much time do they have? Is anyone going to interrupt them? Have they turned off notifications? You know, all of that kind of stuff. The kind of, you might call it housekeeping. So the setup of the call in that sense. Then you have connection, of course. Make sure you're connecting and so you feel, and the thing is, there's no rules to how you do that, but make sure you feel connected to each other. that for that person to open up to you, they have to feel they're connected to you in some way. So whatever you need to do, that is a very, very important part. People often rush that actually, and coaching can't work unless you do that first. Angela, good evening to you. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depends where you are, right? But the connection, the connection cannot be rushed, but it is one of the most fundamental important parts of the coaching relationship. Then we have agreements. In fact, I was talking to one of my clients today, and he was saying that since he's been doing agreements, even with ongoing clients, he has noticed a rapid increase in the effects of his coaching. So the agreements, that you need to teach this person how they need to be to get the most out of this experience. They need to agree to it. If they don't agree to it, you can't do the work. And also they need to understand what your role is and what their role is. Now, you may have spoken about this before, to some degree, but you need to do it at the start of the call. It's very important. And then expectations. And this is what I've talked about before, but you need to set very high expectations for your client for what's possible. If you come into the call with just average expectations of what can happen, well, your client's going to. Think about this when it comes to this part of it. This can hold a lot of coaches back, as in over-promising. We don't over-promise, but we do open up possibilities. Now, within an average person, what happens in a conversation they have with people? What's the greatest thing that happens? Not a lot. They talk to people every day. Not much happens beyond maybe arguments, beyond interesting conversation, beyond, oh, that's interesting. They might have an insight, a small insight. Nothing major occurs for most people when they speak to another human being, at least not in their awareness. And so we need to change that awareness, raise their expectations, and have them pointed in that direction too. It's very key. What's Andrew said? Totally agree with the agreements and seeing the benefit, right? The benefit of bringing that person in and you both agree to go on this journey together. It's damn important. And actually, to be honest with you, there's so many things I'm going to cover here, so I won't go into detail with it at this particular stage, but I will record later videos and posts on this, because each one, to be honest, is a deep, there's depth that can be uncovered with each thing. So the next one, intended focused outcome. Now, obviously, Angela, we spoke about this, didn't we? It's you need to have a single focus for this. What is the most important thing? If anything can happen, what is the one most important thing that could happen for this client during this session? What could they go away with? That kind of thing. Because then when you know where the end is, well, then you have a trajectory to guide the conversation to. It's very important. It has to be one that's agreed on by both of you. Then it's the flowing throughout. When you're asking questions, is the person responding, and is it flowing between you, or is it stilted in some way? Where is it going as well? Is it flowing towards the intended outcome or not? You need to be aware of the flow, which is related to connection and related to outcome. Then we have depth, of course. Now, depth is beautiful. Many times a client will come to you and they will just want to talk about everything. And that's okay, maybe in the very early few minutes, but if you've got that agreed outcome, you need to focus them very quickly, because when there's depth, profound transformations can occur. Depth is where the magic is. Depth is where something can happen which is extremely beautiful. And I'll be sharing at the end, actually, after this, something that happened just yesterday, actually. No, a couple of days ago. Next one. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So when people used to ask me what I do as a coach, I used to say, I help people achieve what they don't yet know they want. And what that means is, it's that people walk around with certain expectations for what life is. They have their friends, they have their colleagues, they have their family and all the people around them that are serving to keep life as it is. For them to be able to see far beyond it, most people can't. There are a few visionaries who can, most people can't. They have a brick wall that has the limits of their peripheral. We need to give them a boost to help them see over that wall so they can see what beautiful things there are in other places and decide if they want to go there. So it's important that we go in with the intention, whatever they think they want, of helping them see what they can't yet see. It's very important. And again, it raises the value of the service when you do this for someone. Then we have a focused end. Whatever's happened during, however it's gone, be aware of the time when you're coming to the end of the session and bring that laser focus to how it needs to end, where it's going to go to a single fine point of completion. It's very important. The right level of challenge too, right? So after a session, a client better have something to go away and do, something to test out the change, something that's going to make a life-changing impact. You must set the correct level of challenge. Arti, hello. Funny you popped up literally as I'm talking about the right level of challenge. The correct level of challenge for that client in that moment. Because if it's a stretch too far, they'll recoil and they won't be able to do it. If it's too little, it just won't be, either they'll do it and it won't change anything, or they just won't care enough to do it. So it needs to be that right blend of excitement and fear. So they're scared to do it, they're excited to do it, and it stretches them beyond. Now, normally when you work together over time, you can really stretch that far, as some of my clients watching this will attest to. But the truth is, you need to get really good at understanding the individual and together co-creating the right level of challenge. And then what's next? It's like whatever is next, make sure the journey is supported and continuing. Make sure whatever relationship and outcome you've agreed together, it's your job really to hold the client to their own outcomes, because they're going to get dissuaded. They're going to get lost and forget why they're doing it. You have to support them in maintaining it. Have to is probably the wrong word, but I strongly recommend it. If you care about your client and you've agreed to a certain piece of work, then just keep reminding them of why they're doing it and asking them why. Maybe they need to change their outcome, that may be needed, but a lot of the time, actually, it's just connected to why it matters and then supporting them in doing the scary stuff. That's often what needs to happen. So there you go. So that's the elements. I'll list them out at the end, actually, for those who want to get a pen and paper. Because any one of them, if you just bring your attention to it and you make a single improvement, it will amplify and increase the quality and the value of your service immediately. You do this continuously over the next year. Imagine how much better your service will be. It's beautiful. So the other day, putting this all together, so it was a strategy call actually with a coach. Now what he wanted, we were just talking about, we were exploring whether we're going to work together and what kind of support he might need to be able to really amplify his business. That was the purpose of the call. So I did all the setup, the agreements, expectations, all that stuff at the beginning. And then we began exploring. Now, very quickly, I noticed there was something odd in his reactions. There was a tightness, a lot of tension. And so, I could have pushed forward because that's what we had our intended outcome, but there's no point. It was like a brick wall in our conversation. So I just stopped. And I wrote this down actually. I said something, that's right. I said, I'm noticing a lot of it. What did I say? I said, I'm noticing a lot of tension within you. What's happening? And I just stayed and went silent and waited. And then there was on video too, this was like a video call. And so it's a little bit more challenging to notice what's going on in someone's physiology, but I could feel something. And very quickly, a lot of emotion emerged and just an outpouring came out. And for quite a few minutes actually, there was a lot coming out of him, sharing some personal things about, where he was, about his life and stuff like this. But I held him in that probably for a big part of the time we'd allocated, to be honest with you. And even though we'd agreed to other things, this was the most important thing we could do. So I just stayed with him. This was the most important thing that existed. Nothing else mattered in this moment. And he got to a point of release, a point of transformation, and then we were able to proceed and we got to the outcome. It's very cool. We said our goodbyes, got him to have some specific focus. It's not right to work together now, but it could be in the future. Got a message from him and he just said about the impact of that. The impact, he didn't realise they'd been carrying something, probably all his life actually. And it was just those few moments of exploring. It's something that was out of his awareness that he was doing. And from that moment of release, it enlightened him and already began to change the interactions he was having with the people around him. Those few minutes, completely life-changing for him. They will be if he continues to engage in this way. Having that lifetime's worth of insight is no small thing. And so from having a strategy session to explore, strategy for coaching, to actually having potentially something that is going to change everything in his life and every interaction he ever has again, it's quite a beautiful thing. So when it comes to one day wanting to work with me, when it's ready, when his life's in the right place for it, what do you think that does to what would he think of my coaching? And who might he think, oh, I'm going to work with that guy? It's probably going to be that, because already, think about when it comes to the value of a service, what price can you put on that? What price can you put on a lifetime's worth of something that's been pent up, being released? What can you put on the lifetime in the future of someone changing the way they're interacting with every human being, their clients, their friends, their relationships, their children, their parents? What price can you put on that? There is none. So when it comes to the value of the service, I can have my fees anywhere I want them to be, anywhere that's right for the results that we choose to create together. And that's because of this kind of thing. And it's because of my dedication and ruthless commitment to just continually upgrading every single part of the coaching service. I strongly recommend you bring it to yours. Angela, beautiful. It is beautiful. I mean, extremely beautiful. Unexpected, as it often, unexpected, but also, very welcome and normal. It's a very normal thing that occurs. So it's, yes, I strongly recommend you bring this high level of awareness and attention to the people that you're coaching. So I'm just going to list out now, to wrap up, for those of you who want to write these out, just a single session, right? There's loads more you could do, but here they are, again, just to sum up. So we have the setup, which is to do with the environment, the conditions, make sure someone's ready. The agreements, make sure connections there, the most fundamental. High expectations. Set your intended outcome, and make sure it's very clear as well. The flow of the session. Make sure you're aware of where it's flowing, and if it, like I did, right, with that person, it wasn't flowing. So there's no point trying to force it. I stop, find out what's going on before we can flow again. Depth. Make sure you're going for depth. That's where the magic is. That's where the service, the highest quality service is in the depth of the work you do. Help them achieve what they don't yet know they want. Help them see far beyond the walls they've built for themselves. Have a very focused end, like a fine point of focus at the end of this. Make sure you set the right level of challenge for that person. This is where you need to agree it with them. Don't just give it to them and them say yes. Check the yes. Be present to the yes. If you set it or if they've set it, make sure you're finding out, are they going to do it and what might trip them up. Be very clear on that. And then what's next? Make sure you're supporting them in the right way to achieve what they want and more than they think they can have. And if you pay attention to those elements and just give your awareness after a session to what you can change, the quality of your service will rapidly improve. Thank you for the loves. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for being here. I hope that's been of service. Obviously, I did run through that list very quickly, so you may want to go back and write it down. There's obviously so much more that you can be, so you truly don't know how great you can be, because in every single session, you could be so much better. Bring that level of attention to yourself and your work, your clients, and they'll thank you and you'll thank yourself. Thank you so much for being here. If this is of service to you and you know anyone else who this could be relevant for, please share it with them or tag them in or something. Let them know where it is, and I'm sure they'll thank you for it. Thank you for being here. I'll see you on the next Superhuman Life Coach Live.